Hello everyone, Singularity here, bringing you a 2 versus 2 that I played with my friend Blight, playing down here as the Teal Protoss. You'll see us having a bit of a conversation there. I'm playing here as the purple Zerg, and our opponents are the red Terran ScridloeSmootkiller and the blue Protoss player SmootKiller. Now he actually selected random, so we have no idea what race SmootKiller is. And that's actually what we were talking about. We were a little concerned about who's this random. I mean, we really got to find out at least what race he is. So it's a Zerg and Protoss against a Terran and Protoss. Now, my friend Blight is actually, I think he's Gold League. I forgot to check before this. He's played a few less games than I have, but all in all, he's able to hold his own in the mid game. So at this point, I've got my scout about to enter their base. Scridloe's scout is on his way to ours as well. So I don't remember at this time when I'm playing which one was the random one. I had said ally colors on, so they were both red to me. But I remembered one of them was playing Terran. So as soon as I saw this guy over here, I said, aha! Random ended up as Protoss. Now, we'd discussed a little bit of strategy beforehand, Blight and I. So we had decided I was going to be going, and I went and confirmed it was one of two strategies that I was going to do based on what our opponents were. And I decided that I was going to go with one of the well, you'll see me saying it anyway. Now you've got Scridloe putting in a second barracks. He's got one barracks without an add-on already. Now I noticed right away there's no gas here. Therefore, I assumed lots of Marines, not much of anything else. Now I didn't get a good read on the Protoss player, but I'm still working on trying to read the Protoss openings, but it takes a little longer to actually see what's going on. Now if I'd seen the two gateways here, if I'd actually taken a good look at them, I think this is, nope, this is me. If I'd actually clicked the second building here, I would have known two gates means more than likely early pressure. And with not two but three barracks coming down here, we can be expecting a decent number of Marines. But again, I only based off the fact that I saw two gas here with no refineries on them. Now the Terran player here took the watchtower. It's actually a good thing to do. He got this watchtower as well. That is a very good idea, except that he didn't scout us out. So he doesn't know what builds we're going. Mind you, I don't know what build my friend is going either. I just know that I'm going. I saw lots. I'm thinking lots of Marines. I'm going to make some Banelings. Marines and Banelings. Well, generally speaking, you know who's going to come out on top in that exchange. So we've got. Here, bring this up. Whoa, that's a big tab. So we've got the Terran player producing lots of Marines. You've got the Protoss player. Sorry, SmootKiller producing Stalkers and Zealots. Now, Blight is producing Sentries. Now, the reason for that would be to force field off the ramp, I imagine. Actually, not a bad idea at all. If we're looking at a heavy gateway force, that's really a good way to just split up the force, deal with half of it right away, deal with the other half later. A lot of people say that force fields are overpowered. Honestly, they really aren't. Later on, when you're faced with units that have a lot of range, you generally can't really do very much with the force field. You can split the force, but then the other half can just get reinforced. And in the late game, the force fields are completely useless because you're faced with massive ground units. Thors, Ultralisks, Colossi, all of them can walk right through the force fields anyway. Or you end up with a whole lot of air units. Now I'm thinking to myself, the Terran may end up being the bigger threat here, and what I'll usually do against a Terran player, especially one who's going with heavy Marines, usually has tanks in there too, I'll just go Mutilisks, Zerglings, and Banelings. The Marines just can't deal with that, and the Mutilisks just make sure that the economy doesn't go out of control. Now, Colossus Archon I've never seen before. I don't know if it works, but if it works, all the better. I end up asking, that's what I'm asking him about, is have you actually tried that before? I mean, hey, if it works, who am I to say otherwise? I'm not a Protoss player, I really don't know for sure. So he's got a, well, not a very large force to start. He's really working on macroing up right now. And honestly, at this point, I think that yeah, Blight over here is ahead in harvesters as compared to everybody. Our red Terran player over here, ScridloeSmootkiller, really is behind in harvesters. However, he's got 18 SCVs to his allies' 26 probes, compared to Blight's now 31 and my own 27. Now I've got my first few Mutilisks already over here. I decided to go with 6 to start out, not quite all at the same time, but now these two are moving out with a pretty sizable force of very low tier units. He added in a few sentries at the end here, but on our Terran player's side, all Marines. Double reactor now. He's getting stim packs. He's already got combat shields. He's really focused on these Marines. Now I noticed this right away. I had a Zergling at the watchtower, so I decided to ping to let him know, hey look, there's a whole bunch of guys incoming. Now, normally I wouldn't advise doing this, Dark Templar right away, but you know what, in a team game that actually works out. Now during this time, I know his force is way over there. I'm gonna go and kick the crap out of the Terran. Crap's not a bad word, I hope. Now I see all these Marines and taking out my Mutilisks. Okay, getting those out of there. But I didn't have any Banelings yet. I don't know why I didn't have any Banelings, but I didn't have any Banelings. I sent in all my Zerglings here that did a whole lot of not very much, as you can see. Now I don't know whose force fields are whose. I assume the ones up here belong to Blight, and the ones down here didn't. Or they might have all been Blight's force fields. And you know what? They were all really well placed regardless. But at this point, he's in trouble. Honestly, right now, our opponents really have an advantage. All I've got is Zerglings to throw at them. And because my Mutilisks are way over here. At this point, I decide, well, I'm going to bring my Mutilisks back. I'll see if I can actually take down what I can using the Mutilisks. Not exclusively, but at least be able to do something. And I didn't notice this at the time, but Blight decides to bring in some Dark Templar. Honestly, normally I wouldn't say it's too great, but right in this particular instance, the Dark Templar works out really nicely because they have no detection. The Terran player has used up all his energy on mules and probably continue to do so. They see this Dark Shrine, they say, we gotta get rid of this thing real fast. And I see that as an opportunity. I'm gonna bring the Mutilisks in right now. I wasn't able to save the Dark Shrine, or my queen over here who decided to pick a fight with a Zealot. But at least I stopped my ally from being eliminated. Now he's got a pair of Immortals out, which will be pretty good against the Stalkers that they had before. And they're tanky enough to take on the Marines, while the Mutilisks add some extra damage. So we managed to prevent either of his Nexi from going down. Most of his non-pylon buildings were saved. The Dark Shrine wasn't, but at least he's going to be able to recover from this somewhat. But he got hit pretty hard. He's down to 4 harvesters. And I'm thinking, you know what? I think I better even the odds a little bit here. So I send the Mutalisks out and make sure there's nothing at the tower here. And I think you can see that the Terran player is a little scared of those Mutalisks. Yeah, Blight's commenting on that was quite the hit he just received. But he had resources, he didn't ask me for any of mine. Had I thought of it, I would have given him a few minerals. At least to help rebuild his workforce. Well, he seemed to have a pretty good amount coming in, though. So I gotta say, that's 21 Mutalisks? That's quite enough to deal with 4 missile turrets, don't worry about that. Terran players, you're gonna need more than a few missile turrets to deal with this many Mutalisks. A bunch of Marines will do the trick, because Marines are dirt cheap, and Mutalisks, well, they aren't. So when the Zerg player sees a whole bunch of Marines, he's gonna want to use something other than his Mutalisks, because it's just not cost effective to use those Mutalisks. But seeing the Marines reminded me, hey, I want to get Banelings. So I'm morphing in a whole bunch of Banelings. They don't take all that long, and they're really inexpensive, but look at this damage here. 20 damage base, 35 against light units. So 2 Banelings kills a Marine. Now I'd like to point out, if you kill the Baneling, it still explodes. They're not like the infested Terrans from Brood War. Furthermore, the explosion radius is actually pretty large. We're looking at something like 3, well, maybe a range of maybe 3, despite it being melee. Maybe 2. 2 hex spots, squares, whatever you want to call them. So that's actually a lot of damage overall. You can burrow them and detonate them without actually unburrowing them. They're mean little units. Now at this point I've got my my Mutalisks in here just causing havoc. I'm ripping the Terran player's base apart as much as I can. I saw something building in the factory and something building in the starport. I decided, you know what, I don't even want to let those come out. I was really hoping that nothing would pop out of there. I figured it was probably a Thor. Sure enough, it was. Then I see them coming into my base. Apparently they're not very happy with me. So I said, okay. So I got a bunch of Banelings. I see a bunch of Marines and Sentries. I'm going to go after that. Well, unfortunately, they had other plans, and they took most of my Banelings out. My Mutalisks weren't able to do a whole lot of damage, but at least I was able to do some. And I know that I figured this number of Mutalisks is just not going to cut it. I lost most of them against this force. And they already killed my queen. But they're really, really low on resources right now. Red's got a lot of gas, but he's using a mineral army anyway. Blue's got very little of anything. He's trying to stay over here because a little while ago there was a Dark Templar that came in here and started wiping out the probes. And then he walked into a photon cannon and died. But that's not the point. Now at this point, we're just cleaning up this attack force. The Mutalisks are able to do a pretty decent damage. The thing is, Mutalisks' power seems to increase like exponentially. Because bear in mind that while one Mutalisk doesn't seem like much, consider the fact that their attack bounces from unit to unit. So anytime one Mutalisk attacks, a whole bunch of units get hit. Now at this point they snipe out my lair. I didn't think to build another spire down here. And they take out the spire, so now I can't make any more Mutalisks. I've got Banelings and Zerglings. Now Blight's actually keeping the Marines and stuff away from my tech structures for a moment. He's also sniping out, right now ScridloeSmootkiller sniping out my drones. I'm not too happy about that. Now without thinking, Blight sent in a few Dark Templars. Starts trying to kill these guys, and then, well, the Dark Templar died. No surprise there. I just mowed them down with banelings. Now, Blight was a little confused about how he was able to see those Dark Templar, but the thing is, I mentioned, well, he says he saw my Dark Templar. I'm like, observer, maybe? He'd forgotten about the Protoss player, apparently. See our lovely, lovely APMs. Yep. Low level play. Actually, 60 is almost right for me. Now our Protoss player got a few upgrades. He got the armor and weapon upgrade, and it's actually very good to get. The Marines have 1 and 1. My units, well, you see very many evolution chambers left. This baneling nest probably goes down. I don't remember if I actually rebuilt another one or not. Blight, meanwhile, does he have attacking units? Haha! He's got level 2 attack upgrade. Look at how much damage these Dark Templar deal. That one-shots a Marine with the combat shield without the armor upgrade. So if you think one armor doesn't make much difference, consider that's the difference between a Marine getting one-shotted and two-shotted by a Dark Templar with the level 2 weapon upgrade. It's quite something. Now I had the Mutalisks run in here, do a whole bunch more damage to the SCVs. If you look at the Harvester count, you can tell Blight actually came back rather nicely from his from being crippled horribly. I stopped making drones because I don't know why I stopped making drones, honestly, but I did actually expand out over to this end, which they did not notice. Blue and red did not see that other expansion. Oh, nice little supply drop here. Supply drop a few times, actually. What's going on? I don't generally see the supply drop used. I guess he was a little short. He's a little supply blocked right now. I don't know if you noticed that, but he's got a nice big chain of Marines coming in. And I noticed this. Well, actually, I think I noticed it because of Blight's probe here. I was in the middle of making a hatchery here. I said, okay, that's not going to work out. Cancel. The drone didn't make it back. But now these guys causing little problems. Now I got a bunch of banelings here. And Blight's got his own small set of forces. Well, I figured, you know what, the banelings ought to do enough. So I just steamroll all the Marines. Because that's just what banelings do. 35 damage is still two-shotting a Marine. Now I've still got these Mutalisks flying around. And Red's expanding over here. He's expanding to the gold expansion without actually destroying these rocks. Or the destructible debris, I'm sorry. Which is an interesting thing to do. I mean, it's a good idea, don't get me wrong. Also, worth noting here, if he had set this SCV to auto-repair, he could repair the Stalkers. Or at least, last I saw, SCVs can repair mechanical units for Protoss as well. And it looks like what happened was they have ally control on. Now I see them shooting at this again. I canceled this for a second time, but now it's a bunch of Stalkers. That's bad news for me. But I do have a bunch of Zerglings. And if I see my ally has a bunch of Colossi, I'm thinking, hey, well, if I throw the Zerglings in front, they'll act as just a whole bunch of itty-bitty meat shields, while the Colossi can do the damage. And seeing this, Blue just left. Now, I don't know what happened here, just a misclick or something, but either way, this force is nicely cleaned up before my Mutalisk could even get back. So I decided I'm going to fly around and see what's going on. Oh, hey, wait, my ally's base just got destroyed. So I'll see if I can do something about that. Send the Mutalisks over here, take out these 3 Zealots here. Meanwhile, it's worthy of note that this expansion never started mining. Not once. That's something you want try to make sure you do. If you see if you get an expansion, try to at least start mining at it. Now, Blight's got a really crazy force right here. I came in here, I say, hey, there's like no probes here, what's going on? Okay, well let's go take a look over here. Red's got the income from 2 players worth of income at this point. He's got this base, this base, this base, but he's alone. And those cannons, well, like the missile turrets earlier, they're just not going to do a whole lot. I take down as much of this as I can, but I see these Marines rushing in, and I know my Mutalisks are toast. So I decide, hey, I'll see if I can pick off what I can over here. Nope, those Marines are still incoming. I'm out of here. Get a few free shots, got a free scout off, and a whole bunch of Marines incoming. Now bear in mind, it's the Protoss player who left, not the Terran player. As you see, the Protoss player isn't doing anything. This APM is misleading. I don't actually have 200 APM. I wish I did, but I don't. And so at this point, you can see a slight discrepancy here. 52 and 50, 33 and 31. Now, I was just warning my ally. There's a bunch of Marines incoming, but I'm going to be making a whole bunch of Banelings for them. You want to attack them? Go for it. Well, he intercepts the Protoss force that was coming in. Meanwhile, I get all my Banelings to roll in and, well, transform and roll out, right? Now, I've got these 2 bases out here. My ally's is getting this one back up. He's got this one here. We've got these guys basically on just a couple of bases. Really, at this point, I don't think there's anything he could do. I think he knew there was nothing he could do. I was pinging this this pylon right here, but then he just left. So that's a little 2 versus 2 that I had with a friend of mine. Might be bringing you a few more of those if you end up liking them. You'll get a ping that lasts forever afterwards. Good to know. If you have a ping that was done just before your game ends, that it won't go away at any point. Had the Mutalisks coming around to actually take another run at these bases here. So that's it for this. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening. Hope you really enjoyed this game, and I guess I'll see you guys next time. Singularity signing out.